Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 131 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by New Amsterdam Vodka. Let's say hello to everybody this evening. Go to our producer, Mikey Grinelli, down New York City first. What's shaking there, guy?
What's up, boys? Big show today. Very excited.
Yeah, whatever you cry, baby.
Ooh, nice getting
Yeah, don't you maybe want to address that, you little bitch?
All right. So I guess we're going to do this now.
Before me and Witt's intro.
Yeah, we're gonna. So yesterday, Witt took a video of me at the bar after a bet, and I'm getting a ton of shit. People saying I'm crying. And I wasn't crying. I was laughing. I was laughing so hard because I'm such a fucking joke. I'm the biggest joke in the world.
Well, like, what a brutal way to tell the story. The main part of the story, and by the way, what up, everyone? And speaking of that, should I actually start talking like this?
Oh, man, I was dying.
That is one of the funniest. I listened to that at least 10 times. For people who don't know, somebody, what is it? What did they do to my voice? They slowed it down 1.5 times.
Half speed. They put the podcast on half speed.
It sounds like I am.
It
sounds like I'm on an Ambo and like 2 bottles of red and like a couple pink Wits. But the story that I was going to quickly tell Grinelli, we walked into this restaurant bar thing to watch the game, and he's like, Buffalo's up, and he's like, I cannot lose right now.
Oh, no.
I literally can't lose right now. And I was looking at him, I'm like, this kid is so dumb. What are you talking about? And then what do you know? Eichel scores. Eichel scores. When you were saying you can't lose, in my head, I was like, he's so dumb. He can lose easily. He's up a goal. And either way, Matthew scored that sick goal, and I just got him right on video. No tears, though. I will back him up now. No tears. More just laughing at how much of a loser he really is.
Complete pigeon. I'm a loser. That was bad. I deserved that, though. I was being cocky. Way too cocky.
Very, very cocky.
Yeah.
Very
one goal leads absolutely nothing in NHL gambling these days. And there's the other fellas. Ryan Whitney just chimed in. Where are you right now, Witz, for the audience?
I just drove home from New Jersey. I was out there doing some work for the NHL Network, and I actually came up. You know how I'm stat guy when I come home, boys?
Well, yeah.
I just wanted to do this one quick. Like, we're just getting this out of the way quick. I couldn't believe this stat. I love this one. I wrote it down on my phone. Look. Mikko Rantanen, and now this has changed. I think he now has 47 points. Either way, at the time, he had 45 points through his first 27 games, all right? 9 people have done that since 1993, 1994 season. You know who the 9 guys are? Or no, it happened 9 times. I think maybe 7 people. Ron Francis, decent. Wayne Gretzky, ever heard of him? Jaromir Jagr, all-time legend, played for about 15 teams. Sidney Crosby, thanks for my money. Evgeny Malkin, thanks for my money also. Sergei Fedorov was able to play defense in the NHL out of nowhere when he was really a superstar forward. And then the last guy, Mario Lemieux, did it twice. Also, thanks for signing the checks on the money Sid and Malkin gave me. So those guys, he was the first guy. He was the first guy since all of them to do it. He's on pace for 135 points, which would win every scoring title in the NHL since 1995-1996. So shout out to Mikko Rantanen and that 6th start. We can now continue the podcast because I got my stats out the way.
Fucking hilarious. And last but not least, our buddy, Paul Biznasty. Bissonette, are you back from LA or are you still out there?
How are ya? Went into it, so I figured I'd chime in. I just got back from LA, boys. I had a great time. We did episode 2 of NHL First Timer. We had Paige Hathaway. I don't know if you guys saw the picture.
Oh my God, Biz.
Fucking rocket
Biz.
launcher.
She is absolute fire, huh? Who is she?
To be as classy as I can about it, I'd let her shit in my mouth. But on a serious note, stunning.
Toothpaste on the hoop.
Absolute sweetheart. I believe she will come on the podcast, she said, but she was
Can we
great.
do a video one that day?
Oh yeah. We'll have her Skype in or whatever, just to get the video.
But I was curious, before you get into it, what does she do though? I've never heard of her.
She's like hardcore fitness. Like she works out something every day, whether it's Bikram yoga, whether it's a Pilates class, whether it's a few workouts she told me I'd never even heard of.
I couldn't tell.
Oh, I know. Her body's stunning. Her personality was stunning. She's gorgeous. She came with her friend Bear DiGigio. He owns a bunch of paintball parks in Los Angeles area. Oh, buddy, you don't understand how lucrative paintball parks are.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. This guy's probably making $1 million a year off paintball parks.
Is that a total guess?
Buddy, he gets like the Lakers come in and book the whole thing out. He'll get like Chief Keef. He'll get like weird people who you would never know were into paintball. Just go to his Instagram and the business one, and you'll see all the guys that show up. I think Kobe Bryant's been there. Dan Bilzerian goes in all the time. But
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, he came with her, and they're friends, and they fed off each other, and it was just great content. One criticism I've gotten so far is like, hey, like, you know, maybe give this opportunity to somebody who wouldn't be able to afford it. And listen, there's 5 episodes. We're going to get to that. This one had a little bit more of a script to it, so we needed people who were going to be 100% very comfortable in front of the camera. We ran some funny little skits. I don't want to give too much away, but thank you to the Los Angeles Kings organization, all the people who work for them. I played in the organization. I don't know if you guys know. I helped them win a Calder Cup, so not a big deal there. But we ended up going on the ice between periods and playing a little game. We got Bailey, of course, one of the more popular mascots in the league, involved. So it was fun. I'm looking forward for you guys to see it, and that's all I got to say about that.
Nice. Looking forward to it. And before we get to the stories and whatnot, we want to mention we are going to have Bill Burr on a little later. Boston native, world-famous comedian. Come on, he joined us for quite a while. A wide-ranging interview. Was pretty good. Can't wait for you guys to hear that. And big news. Basically, we knew it was going to happen. It was a slam dunk, but it's still a big deal, to steal a phrase. 51 years after it started expanding, the NHL basically will stop. I would think Seattle will be the last team. They were awarded the NHL's 32nd and I would say final franchise Tuesday on Sea Island, Georgia. And the as-yet-to-be-named team is scheduled to begin play in October of 2021. It's owned by Jerry Bruckheimer, the famed Hollywood Uber producer, private equity honcho David Bonderman, and longtime sports executive Tim Lewicki. They put up the $650 million expansion fee, which gets split up among 30 teams. Vegas doesn't get a cut, but they're also exempt from the expansion draft. They're also spending upwards of $800 million to renovate the 56-year-old Key Arena, which is where the Seattle Supersonics used to play. It's weird. It's a weird arena. It's like subterranean. You got to go in the building and walk downstairs to get to the playing surface. It's pretty wild. So they're basically spending about $1.5 billion in investment to get this. Basically, they're going to have the same expansion draft rules that Vegas had. So you got to think opposing GMs are going to be a little bit more on their toes so they don't get fleeced like George McPhee undressed them a couple of years ago. And basically, it's been it'll be 21 years since the last team, true expansion teams, which were Columbus and Minnesota. Right now, Dave Tippett is the only real hockey guy affiliated with them. He's going to be he is a senior advisor. He's going to have a big hand in picking both the coach and the GM. Stevie Y is probably a name to keep an eye out for.
You think? I don't know. I don't see that.
We'll see. A couple more things before we get you guys. To make room for Seattle, obviously, Biz, you know this. They're going to be moving Arizona to the Central Division.
Wait, what?
To tough travel for the Yotes now.
Yeah, and they already have 33,000 season ticket deposits and an additional 32,000 names on the waiting list. So this feels like it's a success waiting to happen. Biz, let's go to you first. It's going to affect you more.
Well, all I want to say about that, guys, is I'm very proud the way the Arizona Coyotes have been playing lately. They've won 4 in a row now. And despite getting the news and distraction yesterday of finding out, hey, you're going to be switching divisions and playing against far greater competition, they put that to the back of their mind. They focused on the task at hand and got the job done at Staples Center. So proud of those guys. Aiden Hill, 4-0. This fucking kid's a stud. He's a big guy. He's very good at positionally, and when he needs to be athletic, he can be athletic. And I feel like he's just – I'm not getting too horned up. I know he's only played a few games, but when someone just has that kind of gamer mentality, I think he's got the juice, boys. And Coyotes have a very good problem on their hands when they have a lot of good goaltenders in their system. They even got a couple other guys in the minors who are like 6'5". I think they're breeding them in a lab or something in Tucson.
Well, back to the new Seattle team.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Good little talk about the Yotes. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to crush. I think Seattle I've been there once. I was on a golf trip. We were in one. We went out for dinner. I don't really remember it that well, but it seemed really nice. I do think, though, or no, I don't think I read that they're the largest city in the country, I think, without an NHL and NBA team, something like that. So it makes sense. I mean, there's enough people there to support, obviously, get a diehard group of fans together. And RA, I can't believe you just said there's that many season tickets that have already been. Say there's 32,000?
33,000. Yeah, they got that many. People put somewhere between $500 and I think $1,000 down within 24 hours. They got that, and then they got another 32,000 names on a waiting list. So, yeah,
which means like some of these people may not actually buy the season tickets, even though they put it in their name in. But like they're going to sell out their season tickets. That's
absolutely right with the waiting list. So yeah.
And so that's great to hear. And you just got to think. You mentioned how the draft, the expansion draft, won't change, and the Seattle owners said basically, I'm sure they said no chance it's changing because Bill Foley paid $500 million. I just ponied up $650 million. So I'm not going to not get the same chance to be successful that he did when I'm paying 150 sheets more. So I think that'll make them maybe not. I mean, Vegas went above and beyond. We know that. My wallet knows that. My bank account remembers I was wrong. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen again, but they'll definitely be competitive enough. The quote that I left at too is I think it was Bonderman, the guy. I think he has most of the money. I know Bruckheimer's involved, but I'm pretty sure that Bonderman is the principal owner. I could be making that up, but I feel like he's got most of the juice in the bag. But he said. I usually never talk about personal finances, but this is a few pieces of change that won't be around anymore.
Fuck off.
Dude, that's a guy who, if he woke up with my money, he'd kill himself. He'd kill himself. He woke up with what I had, he'd kill himself. Imagine how rich he is.
He used to be on the board. He was on the board of directors for Uber, but he got booted off because they had their first female on the board of directors. I think it was that Ariana Huffington, and she's like, well, what they say, like I guess they were in a meeting. She said, oh, they say once you have a board has one woman, then more women are sure to follow.
Do you want to start that one over?
Sorry, I did start.
Yeah, restart that.
We're going to keep this on there, but you're just going to restart that. Right. That was marbles in the mouth.
I know. Ariana Huffington was also joined the Uber board of directors, and she said to the other board of director members that, once the first woman joins, that they say more women follow, and then that guy Bonderman said, yeah, that's because there's more talking or something like fucking, and the whole meeting was just like, holy fuck, they were aghast. They ended up like gassing him from the fucking board of directors because he basically said women talk too much.
Yeah, but guys with that much money don't give a fuck.
No,
tell me he's a bad person, like he gives a shit. He's like, I'll fucking buy your life, you loser. Shut
Dude, it's the ultimate quote of Ernie McCracken when he wins the final tournament. He's like, I'm finally above the laws. He's getting like carried away after he beats Roy. What is it? Not McAvoy. Munson. Yeah, Munson. I'm finally above the law.
Okay, I got a few things to say here.
Flick.
St. Louis getting a hockey team. Or St. Louis. Fuck, what am I saying? Seattle getting a hockey team. I chirped RA for it. You guys can chirp me. I fucked up. Take two. Seattle getting a hockey team, unbelievable. You got that instant rivalry between Vancouver and they're actually building like a tram where it goes from Vancouver to Seattle.
How far are they?
Monorail.
I'd say a 2-hour drive.
Really? Dude,
maybe a little over that.
And like 2.5. And Calgary, Edmonton, Battle of Alberta, like Vancouver kind of, I mean, everyone hates Vancouver kind of, but like to get a real rivalry with Seattle, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Now, of course, I'm going to go back towards the Coyotes here. It kind of sucks.
No.
Shut the fuck up, Whit. They lose their rivalry, though. They lose Vegas because Vegas is going to stay in the Pacific. So that kind of sucks. They're still going to end up playing each other a few times over the course of a year. Shitty travel for Arizona, and the biggest comment I got was, are they pissed because you guys are in a way tougher division? Well, one, the expansion's happening. We don't know how good anyone's going to be in 3 years. Exactly. And like some of these teams that are very good right now, like Winnipeg, like we don't know who they're going to be able to keep around and with salary cap issues. And some of their, like a guy like Wheeler, like he's going to be getting a little older. Bufflin's going to be getting a little bit older. And some of these guys have got a big contract. So they're going to be dealing with the same type of problem maybe Chicago's having right now. Mm-hmm. No offense, Stan, because we're boys with Stan now. Other than that, I mean, I don't think the Coyotes are concerned. I love it. And my last comment about the fact that Dave Tippett's joining the What's his exact title? Sorry, RA.
He's a senior advisor. I didn't see an actual title for him. Just they referred to him as a senior advisor.
And here's what I like about that is I don't know how good Dave Tippett is necessarily coaching and evaluating a team as far as high-end talent, because there was the few years in Dallas he had when he had really, really good teams, they were unable to make playoffs. But what he's very good at is making good teams out of maybe not so much, as you saw in our teams in Arizona that had a lot of success. We made playoffs 3 years in a row. Like we had a lot of guys who were a little bit older, a little bit of the outcasts of the NHL who were on the downturn of their career. Like when we had our most successful year, like we had like Donor, Derek Morris, Adrian Aucoin. Oh God, who am I forgetting out of those ones?
Like was Vermette there then?
Yeah, like Antoine Vermette, Radoslav Klesla
like
was
really,
there.
really good, like third line players, kind of second line players.
Yes. So kind of like how Vegas was able to pick and choose some guys who were maybe undervalued by their teams and Tip saw potential. So I think he'll be a good fit in order to do that specific job. And he was an unbelievable coach, very intelligent coach. I don't think the plan is for him to step in as coach.
No,
not at all.
Not going to be.
Okay. So if that's already established, but he's a good hockey mind to have around, and I think that's going to pay dividends for them.
What if he calls Radoslav Klesla for a job? Well, how will he respond, Biz?
He'll be like, if you bring Harry Knuckles, I'll be there.
Harry Knuckles?
Harry Knuckles.
Harry Knuckles.
That's
the
fucking great.
Biz's Czech accent.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
That's the only one I got. Oh, Grinnell wants to say something. What is it, Grinnell, you fucking punk?
So what do you guys think the team name's going to be?
Words right out of my mouth. That's what I was going to get to. I was going to tell everybody the last pro team in Seattle was the minor league Totems of the Western Hockey League. They played in the WHL until that league folded in 1974. Then they played in the Central Hockey League for one season after that. The Totems is the favorite at Bovada to be the new team name. They're minus 105. There's been lots of clamoring for the Metropolitans. They were in the Pacific Coast Hockey Association from 1915 to 1924, and they have the distinction of being the first American team to win the Stanley Cup way back in 1917, ironically beating the Montreal Canadiens, the last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup. But some of these names, man, I mean, I understand the Metropolitans, the Totems. I hate when teams like steal names from the history. Just be original and start a new history. But the Emeralds is 4-1. I mean, do you really want to be named after a fucking birthstone?
No, there was one that I saw, and it was the Supersonics colored jerseys. I think
the Krakens?
The Kraken. Give me the Kraken.
I kind of like the Kraken.
I think it was the Pioneers, or it was the guy who looks not like a Viking, but he's somebody fucking throw me a bone here.
Yeah, no, I have the list that Darren Rovell tweeted out from Bovada. This name, the Rainiers. Now, I know there's Mount Rainier, but like I don't know what the fuck a Rainier is. It's 7-1.
Oh, that's what the one I was talking about was.
Okay, I don't even know what a Rainier is.
Are you chirping what my pick was?
No, I'm reading the list. Like, you know, Mount Rainier, the big mountain there. But
oh no, I didn't. I thought there was a Mount Whitney around there. Is that in California? There's a Mount Whitney somewhere. I'm telling you.
There's one just south of Boston. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. My yellow house.
Another team, the Sockeyes, that's 7-1. That would be the second fish logo. I think the name works. It also won the Seattle Times online tourney. They had, Sockeye. It's kind of like got a punchy name to it. Kind of works for hockey.
Isn't that a fish?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fish. That's why I just said it would be the second fish logo.
Okay. I don't hate it.
We just mentioned Release the Kraken. That's 7-1. I'm not sure if it's a good value bet, but it sure is popular. It's some mysterious sea creature that's been in a couple of movies, and I don't know.
Yeah, and I could hear the announcer just being like, "Power play Kraken." So it's kind of like the power play's buzzing. Well, it's also the team named the Kraken has power play. You get it?
Hey, how are you? A couple more here. The Renegade.
I'll say this. Yeah, that's a good sell on that name, Whit, and I like it a little bit more after you.
Power play Kraken.
Yeah, it's definitely ripe. It's ripe for possibilities for sure. With the pop culture aspects.
Who would you get if you could for a celebrity to say it, and then it would come on the jumbotron every time? It was like Power play Kraken.
Oh man, that's a great question. I feel like there might have to be some Seattle roots there. Maybe if you get Eddie Vedder and he's just like, proudly Kraken.
Come on, way too predictable.
Gee.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anyone else from Seattle. I don't know who could do it. I could do it even. I was on the big screen for Vegas. Unfortunately, it was me being embarrassed saying they were going to be the doormats. Maybe I could get on the positive side of the Seattle big screen and be their, announcer for power plays.
What's cracking? This name, the Renegades, at 16-1. That sounds like a 1950s fucking street gang that your father was in or something.
The Renegades?
The Renegades. Tough name.
Yeah.
Sea Lions, 22-1. Seals, 22-1. There's actually, of course, there were the California Golden Seals, and there's still some of their DNA still in the NHL in the form of the Dallas Stars, because that's who they eventually became. The Evergreens, 28-1. Is that for real? The Whales at 28-1. I feel like if you're going to be a whale, you should be a specific kind of whale. The Cougars at 28-1. They have a logo for this already. It's a 48-year-old divorce.
Hey, imagine we just kept naming names for another 20 minutes.
Yeah, people are going to puke.
Fans were like, puke. Holy shit. All right.
No, people
but people are stubborn. They're going to try to see if they can wait till the end.
Yeah, I figured I'd use the list everybody saw in case they didn't. So, yeah, the Cougars, Eagles, 28-1. We already have Penguins and Ducks. Eagles are lame.
He's still going.
And the last one, Firebirds, is 28-1. I think somebody already took Camaros, so they had to go Firebirds.
I think the Seattle Thunderbirds are they still a WHL team, Biz?
Yeah.
So
the Seattle Herbal Actives.
Jesus. Promo code Biz. So anyway,
Seattle one hitters.
You got the promo codes on the shoulders.
In 3 more years, Seattle will be starting up.
Seattle Biz 20s.
The Seattle CBD.
Fuck me.
Oh, shit.
The Seattle Eagle Energy Biz 20s.
Up to Biz 40 for the holidays.
You have to put in your promo code to get into the arena. They don't swipe a ticket.
Every time there's a 4-minute minor in their favor, they get the 40% off.
All right, what's next?
Yeah, one other quick note.
We got to move on, boys.
Yep. Seattle starting up in 3 years. Looking forward to it. It'll be here before you know it. NHL's got 32 teams. That should be it. Basically, if Quebec is going to get a team, it's going to come from somewhere else. The NHL is projecting a salary cap for next year at roughly $83 million. That's about a $3.5 million increase, which would take the floor up from 58.8 to
Stan's going to be excited about that.
$62.3 million. One other big thing that happened, Ty Bertuzzi was suspended 2 games for suckering Matt Calvert at the Wings bench after one of the Wings grabbed Calvert's stick. He was kind of jostling, trying to get it back. Ty Bertuzzi dropped his glove, gave him a little uppercut action, ended up getting 2 games for it. What's your take on that, Witz?
I thought it was hilarious. I mean, I know that I just was like, this is unbelievable. First, the night before, I love Tyler Bertuzzi's game. Smart player, but plays feisty with passion. And he was trying to fight Marchand all game. We talked about that when the goalies didn't fight. And then the next night, he had enough of Calvert, and Larkin had originally grabbed his stick, and then Calvert, I don't blame him. If somebody's holding your stick, it's a passionate game. Give me my fucking stick back. So you kind of
like a wrench.
And then at that point, Bertuzzi's like, all right, fine. Instead, it would have been no issue if we uppercut him with his glove on, but drop the glove, quick sucker shot. And right after, you can see Larkin looking around. He's like, anyone see that? Well, there's cameras everywhere now, unfortunately. But, I understand the suspension. I still also think it was just a pretty hilarious move.
I like his game, too. He's kind of a poor man's Matthew Tkachuk right now. And if he can elevate his game or to piss everyone off at home, if he can scale up. I said that way too many times last episode, by the way. So that'll be my one and done. What are you going to say, Grinnell?
How about everyone thinking he's Todd Bertuzzi's son?
Oh, really? Was that what was going on Twitter?
A lot of fans embarrassed themselves out of themselves. Yeah. Like father, like son. I thought I'd get 1 or 2 of them in replies because I was having some fun with the Red Wings fans.
Oh, shit. You're saying like hundreds of people?
It was significant. I was actually embarrassed that it was that many people. I know the names.
Hockey fans.
But it takes 2 seconds to fucking Google. Like, just Google it so you don't look like a fucking dummy on Twitter.
Exactly.
But way of the world.
Bert's going to come on this at some point. Big Bert.
Hey, we should do a double episode. Have both of them come on. Now, regarding the issue, is the one thing that does suck, which it would suck for me because I care about public opinion. I don't know if Tyler Bertuzzi does. But like before that, I don't think he had a reputation. Now, because he's done that, every next move he makes, people are going to reference this. Like that's one of those things where like, yeah, you can chuckle about it because no one had some real damage done to them, but it's a horrible look. Like to do that. Like I never did something that dirty other than bite a guy's finger.
No, I don't think it's a great look, but it's also a guy who doesn't really care. And I mean,
well, there you go.
He's gonna now be in other teams' heads, whether they have had instances or examples of him doing shit dirty to them before, or they're just gonna be just going on what they saw by that and just be like, this guy's a rat. He probably wants to be in their heads.
Right, and it goes back to some guys who like just generally don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
like I mean, I would imagine that Brad Marchand like laughs at home. Did I say it bad?
I loved how you said it.
The French way, that's all.
I loved how you said it.
Oh, je parle un peu français, monsieur.
Speaking of chuckles, Bill Burr, man, I had a lot of fun talking to this guy. Never thought I'd be able to talk to one of the best comedians in the world about one of the best TV shows ever, but that's what happened today. We talked to him a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to send it to Bill Burr right now.
This interview is brought to you by Herbal Active, 100% hemp-based CBD product that's unbelievable for sore muscles, joints. They also have drops for mental clarity, helps for swelling and inflammation in the body. I've been using it. Whit's been using it. Grinelli's been using it. So is RA. It's been great. Tons of positive feedback. I've had tons of people asking me for it. That's Herbal Active, 100% hemp-based CBD. They have an Instagram page, and that's URBALACTIV. You can go there and you can send them direct messages, find out more about their product. They have little videos and clips to describe exactly what each product does. Also, you can find them on Twitter. That is, once again, URBALACTIV, Herbal Active. You can go to their website at herbalactive.com. They have awesome customer service. They've hired a few people to answer all your questions. CBD is fairly new. Not a lot of people know a lot about it. So if you have any types of questions, ask them. As I said, it's helped me out a ton for my mental clarity, helps me out for my sore muscles and joints. They have balm. They have mints for situational anxiety, either depression, other things like that. They have dog treats, which is awesome for dogs who suffer from seizures and other types of things. And as I said, herbalactive.com. You can either follow them on Twitter or Instagram to direct message all the questions you have. They know so much about it, so much more than I can tell you, but I know it works. Check it out, Herbal Active. Biz20 promo code for 20% off. You know the drill. Yow!
We are now pleased to be joined by one of the biggest names in the comedy game, a complete superstar from Canton, Massachusetts, a big-time hockey fan, I hear, Bill Burr. Thank you very much for joining the Spittin Chiclets podcast.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So we want to get in first to your passion for hockey that I hear about on your Monday morning podcast a lot, your passion for the Bruins. Where did that all begin, and how long have you been a big hockey fan?
I would say, I think it was 1980. I didn't come from a hockey family. My parents are from the Midwest, so they were more football, baseball. So, they ended up moving to Massachusetts. So it was more for my friends. I was like in 5th or 6th grade, and I was over a buddy of mine's house, and we were watching a Bruins game. And this is back when every team wore the whites at home rather than the dark colors. And I just remember Stan Jonathan got into a fight and just beat the crap out of this guy. And he just, instead of getting kicked out of the game and fined, he just sat down for 5 minutes and came back out and did it again. And I was just sold. Like, I've never understood people who want to get the fighting out of hockey. I think I like it because as much as there are, there can be punks in the league, I always felt you could be more of a punk in other sports just because no one could beat the crap out of you.
So, Bill, that late 70s, early 80s Bruins team was known as the Lunch Pail AC. Was that the first team you fell in love with as a Bruins fan? When they lost the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row, then the too many men on the ice incident happened. Was that the first squad you fell in love with?
I fortunately missed that. I came in 1980, and the one that I saw, the first Bruins game I went to was in 1983 when we won the President's Trophy. We had the best record in the league. Pete Peters was the best goaltender, was going to win the Vezina Trophy and all this. And the first round was against the Montreal Canadiens, best 3 out of 5. and we went to the old Boston Garden with the French exchange students who rooted for the Canadians because they spoke French. And the Canadians came in, of course, and swept us. We just could never beat them back then. And that was my baptism into being a Bruins fan.
Any point where, like, did you want to start playing hockey, or were you like, this is too late? I'm a fan forever. I won't.
No, I was dying to play. It was just too expensive. And like I said, I didn't come from a hockey family, so to try to get football and baseball fans to get up at 4 a.m, drive you to a rink. I mean, that has to be like in you already. So we were more like, I had a paper route and I played football and baseball. And even then, like, I only played football in 3rd grade for a few weeks, and my dad took me out because he kind of was in the medical field. So he saw all that CTE stuff coming. He goes, you're not going to go out there and get your brains blown out, okay? You're slow as shit. You know, you're already not doing good in school. The last thing you need to do. I remember I went there and I wanted to play wide receiver, and both my parents wouldn't let me because Darryl Stingley had just gotten paralyzed on the Patriots when he played the Raiders. So I had to change positions. And I remember I actually said I wanted to play guard because that sounded cool to me. I didn't know I was going to be on the offensive line. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
So it sounds like he was ahead of the curve because, I mean, it sounds so silly now, like, oh, people didn't know 30 years ago hitting your head, bashing it constantly was going to cause damage. But no, people didn't. It's like smoking in the 50s. People thought fucking Camels were still good for you for some reason.
It was. I think that everybody knew that you could get punch drunk playing like boxing. Everybody knew, but I just don't think that they thought about it with like just playing football and contact sports. And I think the leagues were also new, and there was only 3 channels, and they weren't going to dedicate any sort of time talking to old time athletes unless they were going to glorify the old days. So there wasn't any Brian Gumbel, Real Sports. There was no internet. There was really not a lot of information. But fortunately, my dad, with his medical background, understood the brain was sitting there in fluid, and all the helmet did was protect the skull, but it didn't protect the brain. So, I don't know. Still have mixed emotions. I loved playing.
Yeah, I mean, well, at least people now know what they're getting into. That's really not an excuse anymore. Now, you just mentioned the Boston Garden a few minutes ago. Did you get to spend a lot of time in the Garden as a kid? Did you go to many games, either Celtics or Bruins?
Oh, yeah. I went to a ton. There's one you guys can look up. I think it was in 85 or 86. There's a bench-clearing brawl between the Canadians and Bruins. Like the first 10 games I went to, because I love fights, was just Bruins-Canadians. And that's back when we had Jay Miller, and they had Chris Nyland and John Kordick. We had Lyndon Byers and Cam Neely. All these guys. Everybody was, Gord Kluzak. All these guys were just, even guys who could play could fight. And it was a bench-clearing brawl. It was back when the benches faced each other. And I forget what Nyland did, but they sent him to the dressing room. And back then, believe it or not, the visitor players had to walk by the Bruins' home bench to get to their locker room. So he went by, and either Linsman said something or whatever. Nyland pushed him, and Linsman, hilarious, was about my size, ran down the hall after Chris Nyland. They fought, and there was cops involved. Nevin Marquardt had a fight at center ice. Terry O'Reilly was the coach. Remember, he had a brown sport coat, and he grabbed somebody. We thought he was going to throw a punch as a coach wearing a tie. It was crazy. But I went to a bunch of those. I saw Mario Lemieux when he was a kid. My big regret was I didn't see Gretzky or those great Oiler teams, but I went to countless games. A big deal, we used to go, and my buddy his dad had a Ford LTD, 4-door, gigantic, just giant living room. And we used to get a case of this beer back then called Heffenreffer, which was known as the Green Death because it had a higher alcohol content. I mean, it was nothing compared to whiskey, but for beer, and we were in high school, we thought we were badasses because we were drinking it. And we used to, me and 3 friends would crush a case, 8 beers a piece, and then we'd go in there and older people would buy beers for you. Like nothing was policed back then. And we'd get hammered watching the Bruins, Canadians beating the shit out of each other. It was awesome.
That's so funny. You mentioned how you used to have to walk through the other team's bench. I mean, in the 70s and 80s and the way hockey was played, I'm surprised nobody got killed trying to go to their locker room chirping an entire team. I remember that game, actually seeing replays of it. It's so funny.
Yeah, and the benches faced each other, so they didn't have to kind of look down to talk to each other. They were across the ice just staring at each other, yelling, and it just elevated it. Another great thing back then, was how so many of the rinks were like different sizes. Like it was only regulation from the goal line to goal line. But after that, it was this weird thing where the Bruins had a smaller rink. Like I remember when we played Edmonton, like they deliberately in the finals, like we wouldn't make the ice nice and cool. We had it a little mushy, trying to slow them down. I mean, it was just all that Dukes of Hazzard, Boss Hog shit that was going on back then. And then, of course, they'd have their shit like freezing cold. I mean, it didn't make a difference because they were flying past us. I remember Glenn Wesley missed that open net in overtime, and everybody was like, "Oh, then we wouldn't have beat those guys. We still wouldn't have." I mean, it could have maybe given us a little bit of faith, but like, I mean, when you look at those Edmonton Oilers teams in the '80s, that's like the '74 Pittsburgh Steelers or it's like half the team is in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that just doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah, after that incident by the benches, I don't know if you remember, they ended up having to get like this giant piece of plexiglass and any time an opposing player come off the ice, like an Usher and Cobb had to like hold this fucking plexiglass up so they wouldn't fight.
Put the thing down. Yeah.
In the fucking hallway there.
I forgot about that.
Hey, where was the Milbury incident with the shoe and all this? Was that beforehand or is this in the midst of it?
Yeah, that was Madison Square Garden, and that was I think that was before I went to my first game. That was the early '80s because I want to say Wayne Cashman was still on that team, and he always gets shit for beating the guy with his shoes. You really watch it; he just takes it off and he winds up like he's going to do it. And if you see this sad loafer in his hand, like that, life had already beaten the shit out of that guy. There was really no reason to beat him with his own clothing.
It was almost like just a dad back in the day of just giving that to his kid. He didn't actually hit him, or most of the time he did in the Boston area, but that one was just a little threatened. Don't even come near me, you pigeon fan. I hold your terrible shoe in my hand right now.
You know what's funny about that highlight is the Rangers are literally squaring off with the Bruins, and then the second the Bruins start going into the crowd, all the Rangers stop fighting. They're just standing there like, whoa, oh, this just escalated. What the fuck? It's the funniest shit ever because these guys are ready to kill each other. And one guy in the stand, he either took somebody's stick or hit somebody on the Bruins. And O'Reilly or somebody just went like right up and over. And then I think that even for hockey back then, that was mind-boggling. Even to the Rangers, they were like, whoa, man, what the fuck? I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the Rangers dressing room after that game if they were like, those Bruins are there out of their fucking mind. I mean, we're just out here punching each other in the face, bare knuckles. These fucking guys are going in the stands.
Well, actually, I'm a big-time NBA hater, and people always talk about the Malice at the Palace, Detroit, Indiana. I'm like, are you kidding me? You go see the Bruins at MSG. Those guys had skates on the concrete, dummying fans. That was nothing in Detroit.
Yeah, but I got to say, I was 100%. Other than the fact that, what's his face? I never forget his name because he switched his name, whatever his fucking name was back then. Meta World Peace. What the hell was his name?
Ron Artest.
Ron Artest. Clown.
Ron Artest. And 100% sign off on what he did. And other than the fact that he got the wrong guy, that bullshit where an athlete has to, you gotta maintain your composure and all that. Just
Fuck
because
that.
a fan buys a ticket, he gets to say whatever he wants. And like back then I was doing a bit. I was like, name one bar in the world where you can take a full beer and throw it in any man's face and you're not in a fight. And not to mention a guy who's a foot taller than you. And it was just such a punk mood how that guy did it. And then he sort of stepped to the side. That poor bastard who like worked at like a Staples, all of a sudden staring down this angry 6'10" professional athlete. But I don't know. You can't professionally, you can't say it, I guess, if you run a league, but I didn't find there wasn't one thing wrong with that. I wish it happened more. It only needed to happen about 3 more times, and that would have shut up a lot of fucking people who never had a fight in their life yelling at these people who, if they just stretched, would accidentally knock them out. I hate when people do stuff like that.
Yeah, my favorite example is when the guy's chirping Ty Domi, and all of a sudden the glass falls in the penalty box. He's like, "Oh shit!" And Domi just starts unloading on him.
Oh yeah, that's good. I mean, did you see the shape that guy was in? What crushed that glass was not the guy's strength; it was all the pizza and booze the guy had in him. It was just lard. The glass caved in. I mean, that shit is designed for professional hockey players to slam into one another. And this fat fuck just leaned on it, and it just tapped out.
I'll say this, as a guy who's got a few screws loose, I pray for situations like that where it gives me the green light to get in there and just fucking sucker someone. And hey, like,
no, you never want to sucker somebody. Oh, you don't want to sucker punch somebody. You don't square up with them or don't. You don't want to fucking.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, if you're coming in and you're going to throw a beer in my face, it's fucking go time, man. Like, I'm not asking questions.
Right,
we'll talk about it after.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm not a tough guy, so I don't do shit like that. I don't want to fight somebody. I don't even want to win a fight. Just punching somebody in the head hurts. You usually end up breaking your hand. I mean, it's just like something I don't want to be involved in. But, like, if someone's going to, do something like that, in a perfect world, they at least take a liver shot, right? Laying on the ground, that's not bad. There's no brain damage. It's just the piercing feeling of a vital organ exploding. Other than that, I think it's all fair game.
Hey, ever since you've gotten your name now and became more popular, have you had a chance to meet any of those legends that you like grew up idolizing, like maybe Ray Bork, or like who was like the one guy you were like you fanboyed out on if you met him?
Oh, all of them. Well, I mean, I've done Dennis Leary's Comics Come Home, and that's with Cam Neely, and I did that like 3 years into my career, and I remember the first night I did it, I got to meet Cam Neely, and I met Chris Nyland. They were both great guys. I couldn't believe, I was talking to them, and I think a few years earlier, I actually had done a gig on Martha's Vineyard, and afterwards I was up at the bar, and I looked, and Jay Miller was hanging out with Chris Nyland, just having a beer, just standing in, and then I was just like, that whole tough guy thing where, they beat the crap out of each other. Then afterwards, hey, let's go get a beer or whatever. So remember Lyndon Byers? I don't know if he's still at WAAF. I met him. Rick Middleton. I've met, I did, what's his face's show? Jesus, I'm the worst. In the moment, I always forget people's names. Any Given Wednesday. Bill Simmons. I did his show with Wayne Gretzky. And he was...
were you just jerking off the whole time?
It was like he was so unbelievable that, like, you couldn't even get nervous. You were just sort of dumbstruck. But he was just, he couldn't have been nicer. I did a few things for Mario Lemieux. A couple times I did his charity, and I got to meet Paul Coffey, who's like the biggest ball breaker ever, almost like a stand-up comedian. And he wants nothing more than you just to come over and make fun of him. Like he's like all of those guys, they're really like guys like self-deprecating. Like I've yet to meet any one of those guys back from that era that was full of themselves. They're always just like, hey, it was my job. I dropped the gloves, I won some, I lost some. They're really like modest about what they did. So yeah, but that's I think anybody meeting an athlete that played when you were a kid is a big thing because they're like bigger than life, and you still have your whole life ahead of you. So you're looking at it in a certain way as opposed to, you get older. Now if I meet a professional athlete, it's like I'm old enough to be the kid's dad. And all I'm thinking in my head is how the guy's spending his money going, I hope this guy doesn't go broke. As opposed to when I was a kid, I'm like, oh my God, this is a professional athlete. This guy's a god, I don't know. It's weird.
You mentioned Rick Middleton a minute ago. Did you know they're retiring his number tomorrow night at the Garden, number 16, finally?
Oh, they are? There was nothing better than him on a breakaway, man. He had the best hands, man. He just was, he really was. I think it was right after, like, when Peter McNabb and him were on the same team. It was before we got Neely from Vancouver. Like, those guys were sort of the ones always scoring the goals. And McNabb was sort of like an Esposito type, sort of out in front. You couldn't just move him, just a big guy. But Rick Middleton, he had all the stick handling. He'd go around, make guys look stupid and shit. Just that stuff. Then you go out in the driveway, before rollerblades, so you just were running around trying to pretend you were him with the bullshit you bought at Herman's Sporting Goods. Jesus Christ, you guys are taking me back here. Down at the South Shore Plaza.
Pick up a couple of Milex. Bill, I want to ask you, when the Bruins won it all in 2011, where were you for that game?
I can tell exactly where I was because I could have gotten tickets for it. but I had to work. But it was a good job. I was Jim Norton, the great Jim Norton, had put together this tour called the Antisocial Network, and the tour was Norton, Dave Attell, Jim Brewer, and myself. And I forget how the line. I think I went on second. I can't remember, but I just remember the show had started, and I had already watched the first period, and I watched halfway through the second period. Then I went out and did my bullshit act, and I got off stage, and there was like 6 minutes left, and I was the only one who cared. I was in Chicago, and none of the guys I was working with, were from Boston, so I was watching it by myself. And I remember being upstairs in the dressing room, and with like 4 minutes left, I literally screamed like a little girl by myself. I was like, "Oh my God, they're gonna do it!" And then they won the fucking cup. And I remember there was this meet and greet, and I was late. I was like 15 minutes late for it. I got shit for it online for not being down there, but I was up there by myself because I just wanted to see. Because every year, all these years of watching hockey at that point, let's see, 1980 to 2011, that's 90, 2000, 31 years of watching. And just every year, just seeing some guy taking the Stanley Cup and lifting it up over his head. I was just thinking after a while, am I ever going to see somebody with the Bruins jersey? And from seeing Zdeno and just the yell that he let out, it was awesome. It was so awesome. And I made sure my wife taped it so I could rewatch it. But, I can't imagine what I looked like when I came down to the crowd with the big stupid grin on my face. And at that point, it was like I could die as a sports fan because I had seen the Patriots, Red Sox, Celtics, and Bruins. I'd already seen the Celtics in the 80s win it. And now I'd seen a Stanley Cup, a World Series, and a Super Bowl, and I was just like, man, this is good. I can no longer bitch as a fan. And fortunately, we've continued to win, and I've also continued to bitch for some reason.
Yeah, because we're from Boston. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
Hey, and Bill, I don't know if you know R.A. here, our co-host. He actually went to the game last minute, bought a flight to Vancouver for his life savings. I think it was like a $2,000 flight. Went to the game, saw them win it, and ended up sneaking in as what were you pretending to be a security guard or something? All right, tell the story.
Actually, it was the Tampa Bay Stanley Cup party I snuck into. I actually had a media credential for the Vancouver one, but they usually tell you no media is allowed in the room because they do all the interviews on the ice, but they opened it up to the local media. So I walk in, Bill, and it's like fucking champagne flying everywhere. I felt like I was in a dream. I walk in and my favorite team's passing the Stanley Cup around. They're high-fiving me.
Wait a minute. With your accent, you got away with local Vancouver media?
No, they look
hilarious.
Boston media, because the Bruins won the cup, so they let all the Boston media.
Oh, I see. You could say you were traveling. Okay.
Bill, I'm just shocked they gave him a fucking media credential, this guy.
What was great, Bill, is there was a part where the whole team, it was real impromptu. Nobody videoed it. They all started singing "We Are the Champions." Somebody played it on a boombox, and nobody recorded it. The only people who caught it were the ones who were in the room. And it's like, you get goosebumps fucking being in a room like that, because I wasn't supposed to be there, but they were cool. They let me stay.
Yeah, those guys, that's been my experience. I did another year. I did Comics Come Home. It was right after they had won the Stanley Cup. I think it was probably the beginning of next season. And Neely and Leary somehow got a lot of the guys from the team to come on the stage in the end and wave goodnight, thank everybody for raising money for the Cam Neely house. And I was blown away once again. First of all, the shape that they're in is just ridiculous. There's not one fat guy in the NHL. Back in the day,
Tim Thomas was a little chunky.
Yeah, Thomas was chunky.
I'll tell you, you know who blows my mind, who just looks like he's playing in a beer league, is Phil Kessel. There's something about his face. He's got the jowls, man. I love that guy. He's a great player and everything, but he definitely looks like he has a few in the parking lot afterwards, like doing a little pickup hockey action.
He's so disgusting. People started getting tattoos of him in Pittsburgh after they won their cups there, their back-to-backs. Like putting Phil Kessel on their body.
Yeah, no, that's a great hockey town, man. Pittsburgh is I'll tell you, traveling around, I've gone to most of the I think I've seen a home game of every team except for Carolina, Vegas, and Ottawa. Those are the only three ones. Every place else I've just through doing stand-up on the road and booking it around a game, I've been able to go. And that's Pittsburgh is a no-joke hockey town.
Yeah, Witt's played there for a few years.
Yeah, I played there. I also, you're not missing much in not seeing a Hurricanes game down in Raleigh. Don't worry about that one. Although Vegas now, Vegas is one that you probably definitely got to hit up. I actually tell people a lot. My favorite place to play was Montreal. I don't know. I'm sure you've been there. That atmosphere is sick.
Yeah, I went up there. I saw a game at I guess it was the second Montreal Forum. I saw them in 1989 against the Minnesota North Stars when Patrick Waugh was still up there. And that's when they had Guy Carbonneau and Chelios, and Nyland was still on that team, I think. I believe he was. And, yeah, that was unreal. Just going up there, and remember they said that blue along the boards up there, and that was just a house of horrors for the Bruins for the longest friggin' time. I think by then we finally won up there. We went like some ridiculous, like I don't know, like 10 years, never won a home or playoff game in the Montreal Forum. Like they just fucking owned us. It was, and that's what when I was growing up, and the young kids now can't relate to. It was like not only did the Boston teams not win, other than the Celtics, it was like we were also the Washington Generals to the Yankees and to the Montreal Canadiens, and then the Patriots. I mean, there's like high school football teams in Texas that have a better fucking stadium than we had, and it was like, I'll be honest with you, when I was at that game when the Patriots won their first Super Bowl, and I thought that I would never see them. I mean, I knew eventually, hopefully, the Red Sox would win a World Series, but I was just like the Patriots. It's like we're not even in the league. It was just like a joke. Like just going through the whole Michael Jackson debacle with the Sullivans. Did you ever hear this whole story about why they had to sell it? The original, the Sullivans that owned the Patriots. I didn't know that. Like I thought it was just because they booked him. Basically, I don't know what the correct term is, but whether he did a show or not, they had to pay him. And because Foxborough didn't want him there, you know, most likely for racist reasons, you know, they didn't want him out there. They still had to pay him. And I thought that that's bankrupted him. But a local promoter told me what really happened was, for some reason, Pat Sullivan, he booked the whole tour, right? He was going to be the promoter of it. And, you know, he's doing the numbers in his head, what Michael wants, what he's going to make at each venue. And it looked like he was going to make money. And then when they saw the layout for the tour, Michael's stage was so fucking big, it was eating up all of these seats. And according to this guy, I don't know if this is true or not, Sullivan went back to him and said, can you make this stage smaller? I'm going to lose my shirt. And he was Michael Jackson was competing with Prince. And he was worried that if he made his stage smaller, Prince was going to outdo him. So he kept this giant stage. So not only were the Sullivans losing money every night because of the size of the fucking stage, they then canceled in Foxborough, and then that was it. And then they ended up having to sell.
Oh wow!
And then we went to the fucking Norelco Razor guy there, and then
Victor
they had the Victor Kayem, and then they had that awful thing with the female reporter and all of that Zeke Moat shit. And then it was terrible. And then that Kraft comes in, and then all of a sudden he's threatening to move it to Connecticut. And I was just thinking, this is never going to work out. But fortunately, they stayed. And you know, I was thinking the other day, Bob Kraft. I mean, as far as owners goes, it's his head coaching hires: Bill Parcells, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick. I mean, the guy's gone 3 for 3 as far as like. I think what's his face? Pete Carroll is going to end up getting into some sort of sports Hall of Fame, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that USC shit hurts him a little bit. I don't know.
Well, the fact he was dating a 20-year-old.
I don't know about that one.
I thought that was going to get him in.
What? Well, he looks so goddamn wholesome, man. You know, he really does. He looks like he goes to church every week.
He's like that dad where like all the girls go over to the one dad's house and they're like, I would go him, and the other they don't, and then they say it to the daughter and they're like, shut up, don't say that, like that's my dad.
Yep.
Oh, we're in the DILF
and
territory.
Then the one from the single parent house actually does it. Yeah. That's how it goes down.
And then he divorces the mom and they have a relationship and it's fucking weird. Now she has no more friends, but she has a 6-year-old boyfriend.
Yeah. And then one day social media comes out and the next thing you know, we know about it. It's a weird world we're living in.
Fucking sure is. But by the way, it was 1988. The Bruins ended that jinx after like 40 years of not beating the Canadians, Bill. But I want to kind of transition over to your comedy career and talk about that for a little bit. And basically, when did you know that you wanted to be a comedian when you were a kid? Like, did you watch Delirious and say, "Fuck, man, that's what I want to do," or was there some other process? How did you wake up one day and say, "This is what I want to do for a living"?
No, none of it. As much as I loved stand-up and I bought all the records and would, I would be doing my paper route, reciting the routines, pretending, fantasizing I was in front of my, my whole grade and everybody was laughing and all the pretty girls liked me. It still didn't connect with me like, "Hey, Bill, maybe you want to be a comedian." Just because show business was so far away. It was in L.A., and I didn't even know it was in New York, but you had to move to Hollywood and just, I didn't even know that there was a local club scene. I didn't know anything about it. And it wasn't until I was like 20 or 21, I was working in this warehouse, and there was this other guy I worked with, funny enough, another redhead, and every bit as funny as I was. Just a next level, like, funny guy I met. Like, I was like, wow, this guy is really funny. And he loved stand-up the way I did and was funny. I used to go over to his house before his parents' house. He was still living at home. We go into his room, and, back in the day, you'd crush a six-pack, so you'd save a little bit of money going out to the club, get a little buzz going.
Still do that.
We go
Grinnell, our producer, does it every weekend. And then he can't
you got to do it. You got to have a couple in you, right? So we'd crush a six-pack or whatever and, drink them real fast to get a nice buzz, try to drink it in like an hour. And we would just watch Stand Up Spotlight and all these late 80s, early 90s stand-up shows. And one night he's going, "Bill, we're funnier than these people." And he goes, "One of these nights, I'm going to take a shot at Jack Daniels. I'm just going to get up on stage." And all of a sudden, it wasn't on TV anymore. It was sitting next to me. And I was thinking like, oh, shit, well, you can just do that? Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know you could just find an open mic somewhere. I literally thought I had to move to Hollywood to start. Like, I don't know why I thought that, but I did. So that's how I ended up getting into it. Dude, speaking of that, I know a guy who did that. I know a guy who moved to Hollywood, all right, and started in L.A., which is the hardest fucking thing you could ever do if you're ever going to try to start out as a comedian, is to start in L.A., and this guy did it. And he was down the hall from me. It was like 1998 or 99. There was this guy down the hall, a Chicago guy, and he comes up. He goes, "Hey, because you're a comedian, right?" And I was thrilled because, this is like 6-7 years of my career. Nobody knew who the hell it was. And I was like, yeah. And, so he starts asking me all these questions about how he wants to get into comedy and all this shit. Long story short, I moved back to New York. 5 years later, I come out and I see him on stage at the Comedy Store. I'm like, holy shit, that fucking guy did it, right? And then I ended up moving out in 2007, and this guy got to the point where he was one of the guys. And recently, that fucking guy who was just down the hall from me, he just sold out Madison Square Garden 4 fucking times in the round. Sebastian Maniscalco. I don't know if you guys know him.
He's fucking hilarious.
Oh, is he the one who's very flamboyant?
He's like the Italian
guy,
Chicago Italian.
Yeah, Italian guy. He's was
great.
Down the right down. That was the dude living down the hall from me. And I just recently he won Billboard's stand-up comedian of the year, and I got to present him the award. I got to tell that story, and we were just laughing afterwards. Like, it's one of the coolest stories I have. That there was just this guy down the hall going, "Hey, how do you start and stand up?" And now he's like, I mean, you sell it out 4 times in the round. It's like, that's when you can like sit down with like U2 and be like, "What's up, man?"
Hey, Bono, I guess
they
thing.
do stadiums, Yeah.
You're taking his glasses off and like making fun of him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, but anyway, so luckily I started in Boston, and there was all these just incredible headliners that I got to open for. And I mean, the hours and hours and hours that I watched those guys and just learned. Kevin Knox, Tony B, Frank Santarelli, Don Gavin, Steve Sweeney, on and on and on. Mike Donovan. I always forget a few guys each time. I always try to say all their names because I learned so much from all. Kenny Rogerson. Yeah, just a whole bunch of those guys. And all of them just went up and in their own way just fucking leveled the room. And killing in Boston, I quickly learned killing in Boston was killing. And I went other places, when I first got down to New York and I worked some of these places in Jersey and the tri-state area, and some of the, oh man, that guy killed. He killed. I was like, he had a good set. He wasn't like when these guys in Boston when they were killing. I mean, I guess because it was a 400-seater too, but it just like when Kevin Knox was on stage, the whole time he was up there, it sounded like there was a jet landing, but it was like hovering because it never quite landed and shut off its engines. Like they just murdered, and they just kind of showed you John Pinette. I saw John Pinette one night coming to the Nick's Comedy Store, Nick's Comedy Stop, finding comedy clubs now. He came in and did a 15-minute spot and got a standing ovation. Like, just, I've seen people get standing ovations, but you got to kill for an hour. He fucking destroyed so hard for 15 minutes, and the place was like half full. It was like 40 people standing up, applauding this guy. And he's like, sit down, whatever. It was like, it meant nothing to him. And I just remember seeing that, like, that is killing. And then when big guys came to town, like Brian Regan was a guy I saw fucking murder. I don't know. I've seen a lot of greats.
So there's in hockey, there's a million stories of a guy who, gets found because a scout went to watch a guy on his team and sees him. And, you get the one break in hockey to make it to the NHL at times. Was there anything you look back on like, holy shit, that was the game changer? That was what really kind of helped my career take off?
The way it worked out for me, it was a bunch of things. This long timeline where this led to this, that led to this, that led to this, that led to this. It was all, being lucky enough that my parents moved to Massachusetts. So I started in Massachusetts, and I grew up with kids from Massachusetts who were just inherently funny, I think helped me out, and seeing those great headliners. I think the biggest thing that happened as far as like me starting to get known and selling tickets was probably in 2005. I did a half hour for HBO, and right before it came out, Jim Norton got an acting gig on Lucky Louie C.K. show on HBO. And so he couldn't do the Opie and Anthony show, so I got to sit in. And I sat in for that show for 2 months, and fortunately their fan base liked what I did. And after 2 months, right as I had some road gigs coming out, my half hour on HBO came out. And that was the first time I actually sold out a club, like a 200-seater or whatever. And I dealt with this new pressure. It used to be the pressure of who the fuck's this guy, make me laugh. Now I was dealing with the pressure of like expectation. Like we came here specifically to see you because we think you're funny. And I remember like this fear going like, I finally got him to show up. Now, if I have a bad set now, like how far is this going to set me back? I'll have to have, wait until HBO gives me another half an hour and God knows how many years. So, but that's how this business works. It kind of weeds out the weak. So you just have to, even if you're not strong, which I wasn't, you have to figure out how to pretend to be strong and fake your way through it, which I did. And it was an adjustment period. It was a good 3-4 months before I got used to this different sound when I went to stage, which was anticipation. Before then, it was like, hey, whatever. And I had to deal with these people. Then these people are going to fucking hate me. They don't know who they are. And once I got used to the new sound, I was able to kind of relax into it. And fortunately, go on a nice little run here.
So were your nerves always there, but then they just escalated, or were you just not really even nervous before? Where when you kind of scaled up, that's all of a sudden like the anxiety before you went on. You're like, oh shit.
No, it's all nerves until you're out there. Then once I was out there, I was fine because no matter what was happening, I could deal with it. If I was bombing, I bombed before. If I was killing, great. But it was just the not knowing. And it's just like, for the love of God, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Just say my fucking name so I can go up there. That's what it was. It was the waiting. And then, before I was known, it was the nerves where, you get a drunk, aggressive crowd And you'd get good at it after a while. Like all comics, once they've done the road long enough, they know who's going to be the fucking problem as they're walking in. You can be in the green room and just hear somebody's laugh or something. You'd be like, all right, that person, by the time I get up in a half hour, they're going to be 3 more drinks in, And then once you build a relationship with the club, you can actually call someone, just do me a favor, just watch that fucking guy, because I'm not in the mood for it tonight, And you get a little, you got a little Tom Brady. You talk to the referee and you get the fucking call,
Hey, you just come out swinging at them and they're like, whoa, what the fuck? I didn't even say anything.
No,
I know you were going to say something.
No, and I've made that mistake. I made a mistake. I did a thing for a long time. I thought anybody talking in the crowd was saying that I stunk. And half the time they'd just be ordering food or saying, oh, my God, that happened to me. And then I fucking cut their head off with the sickle. And I remember afterwards, this is back when I was selling CDs at the end of my show, and all these women and shit would come up to me like, I was just trying to get some chicken fingers. You're a fucking asshole. And I would feel like an idiot. And Jim Norton was the guy I learned. I saw him. I still remember the set. I saw him at Caroline's, and he just said, what did you say? Oh, okay. And he just, he addressed it, and I remember thinking like, oh, you can just do that? I thought if anybody talks, you got to tell them to go fuck themselves. Like, it was really, sort of just the part of the world I grew up in, where it was just everybody was always busting balls. And if anybody was laughing at you, it wasn't good natured. Like, they were really, it was, as funny as Boston is, or Massachusetts, there was a meanness to that game. At least with white people, there was. Like, white people play that giving each other shit. It gets real quick. They bring up dead relatives and stuff. And I didn't realize that until I met the late, great Patrice, where, he'd make fun of my fucking sneakers, and I would just go right for jugular and be like, God damn, Bill. It's like, you don't even try to have fun. This is just supposed to be fun. So I had to learn. I was just like, and I had to be like, well, look, that's how the game was played in my house. My own dad played the game that way. He just went right for it. There was a weakness, you went at it, but there was no love behind it. It was just like, no, grabbing you by the back of the neck and you're rubbing your nose in it. So
you're like, at least my wife's not get fucked by the mailman. He's like, what?
Oh yeah. All he did was say your sweater was a little tight.
And Bill, actually, before we ask another question, I just wanted to remind our listeners that this interview is also brought to you by 23andMe. And now through December 25th, the 23andMe DNA kits are on sale. 23andMe helps you understand what your DNA can tell you about you and your family story. It's named for the 23 pairs of chromosomes that make up your DNA. A 23andMe DNA kit is the perfect gift for everyone you love. There's never been a better way to give the gift of genetic discovery to your parents, your siblings, your aunts, your grandparents, and to everyone else on your list. It's the one gift you can buy the entire family that will be unique for each loved one. 23andMe Health Plus Ancestry Service include 90-plus personalized genetic reports that offer DNA insights on what makes you unique. And it's easy to do. You simply spit in the tube provided in your 23andMe kit, register your sample to your personal 23andMe account, and in a few weeks, you receive your personalized online reports. Now through December 25th, you get 30% off any 23andMe kit. Order your DNA kit at 23andme.com/chiclets. That's the number 23andme.com/chiclets. Again, 23andme.com/chiclets.
Bill, did you ever play the Great Ding Ho Club in Cambridge, which is basically like for those who aren't familiar with it, it's kind of like the Sun Records studio to rock and roll. That's kind of what the Ding Ho was to 80s comedy, to the 80s American comedy scene. Were you ever lucky enough to play there?
That's a great comparison.
Thank you.
No, I wasn't. That was long gone by the time I got there. That was all, DJ Hazard was another guy. All those guys played there. There's a lot of great stories, Stephen Wright and that Lenny Clark and those guys.
Barry Crimmins, too. He just passed away.
Barry Crimmins, yeah, rest his soul. All of those guys, they would, The Tonight Show would would go to this fucking Chinese restaurant to watch these guys. To pick them is crazy. It was crazy, but it was like, I feel like Leno took the beach where he was doing stand-up in Boston when there was no clubs, and he used to be down the combat zone, just going on in front of, in front of strippers and shit. And then there was a gap. It seems like he moved to New York or LA. I don't quite know where he went after that. And then Lenny and all those guys came. And I always wondered what got them, like how it started. I'm sure they told me the story, but we're always, I don't know, hanging out after one of those comics come home. So I always forget the story.
They say if you stand in front of the Ding Ho on a crystal clear day, you can actually still smell the cocaine from inside.
I'm going to have no comment on that. I wasn't there. I heard that those guys did a lot of reading.
Ray was.
Yeah, they did a lot of reading when they were there, and they helped a lot of people out. They did a lot of good.
They certainly did.
Well, our podcast, I think we toe the line a little bit. The whole PC culture now, I think we're able to slide by a little stuff just because it's hockey and, some people don't get mad. But I feel like you and comedians in general now have to deal with this new culture. And I know yourself, like you're saying, you cut to the core, you'll go below the belt, things like that. Is it harder now for you, or do you not even really give a shit what people think? And if they're going to be mad at one of your jokes, so be it. It's my joke.
Yeah, no, that's just more of a media story. It's way exaggerated as far as like the amount of people that are actually that get offended versus the ones that don't. The amount of people that aren't mature enough to go to a comedy show and just, understand that they're listening to jokes. You know what I mean? Like my favorite people, 20 subjects goes by and it's all good. Then all of a sudden it comes onto your front lawn, and all of a sudden you're not telling jokes anymore. You're making statements, and then they start telling you what you mean by your joke, and you're literally being like, that wasn't the point of the joke. And they're arguing like, it's like, so you know what my brain is telling me more than I do? I mean, I'm the one hearing it. You realize what you're saying is like fucking insane right now, but it's just how, but this is it's a combination of social media and the fact that there's 30 million things to look at and take in all at once as far as content, that people have to they have to make a noise in order to get people to stop, and people getting in trouble is a great way to get hit. So that's why if 2,000 people go to a show and you get a standing ovation, except one person got triggered, like that becomes the story. And it's like, that isn't the story. That is a story, but that is not an accurate depiction of what happened. But then they'll turn around and they'll write a headline and just be like, two people, whatever, blah, 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 after his what are the words the phrases they use? They use like his insidious remarks or incendiary, something about fire. I don't know what
Incendiary.
Yes. Yeah. Comments and blah, blah, blah. And then they'll just say, is so-and-so into Hitler? They'll do. So then they're not liable. They haven't said that you are. They just presented the question. And then every mouth-breathing moron this guy likes Hitler. That's how they read it.
Well,
and then meanwhile, they're reading all of this. They're reading this complete distortion of the evening, and they never mention that you got a standing ovation. Everybody had a good fucking time except for two people. And meanwhile, as you're scrolling, reading the shit, there's all these ads on like the side. Like the amount of money that's been made off of sexual assault and all this horrible shit that's going on out there via clickbait, and all these people who are pretending that they care about victims first, and they don't. They care about their money. If you just look at the way that they present it, it's like they're not offering anything new. They don't have a decent take on it or anything. They just have a crazy headline, and then you just have as many fucking ads as they can possibly jam in there. And I love that they never get called out on it. They'll sit there and call comics out on telling jokes, but, nobody talks about them, what they're doing. So, but I think all of them, there's a lot of paper tigers out there, and all you do is when they come at you, the worst thing you can do is apologize. What you do is you just go right back at them This is what I fucking love about you guys. When that guy tried to do the takedown piece on Dave, and he's trying to be all fucking PC, and then he actually sticks his fucking foot in his mouth and assumes because you have a female CEO that she's just there as to check off a box. And she comes back like, no, asshole, since I've been here, I've grown this company by 30, 40%. And then him tucks his balls behind his legs and doesn't even fucking respond. You know what I mean? It's joke. That's the type of bullshit.
You're taking that side of it, and then you're being a hypocrite by basically saying we hired a woman just to check the box, and she's actually scaled it up. So, like, who's actually the fucking sexist person here?
Exactly. He ended up making himself look sexist because he assumed that that's what you guys did, and then once he realized that was what was going on, he doesn't even respond. I mean, that's if you're gonna fucking do that, if you're just gonna dedicate, that amount of words to take one guy down that you never met before, okay, and then if you get something wrong, when they come back at you, and you should, if you were a man, you would have responded. That guy just disappears into the ether.
Yeah,
so that's a lot of what's going on out there. I found when you go at, as long as you didn't do it, look, if you did something wrong, you apologize. But if you didn't, and someone's just being one of these, douchebags, I don't know what, they're so into whatever, like, cause that they're into that they can't see you for who you are or even listen to you. Or if they're just doing some clickbait shit. I mean, if you go at them, like, they implode.
Bill, I watched that part. I watched that Fox 5 thing interview you did. That's one of your top clicks on YouTube, and about when you were talking about your cartoon and stuff like that. You could tell you just you were in no room for bullshit that day. And she tried to make a comment about how people are upset about you taking a stab at the Christianity, and then you kind of just went on a rant and put her right into a corner, and it was fucking amazing.
No, I was having fun. No, it wasn't Christianity. It was the Catholic Church, because I think you went a little too hard on the Catholic. Don't you think you went a little too far with the Catholic Church? I didn't even remember saying this. Some people just sent it to me. I said, well, don't you think the Catholic Church went a little too far? I mean, then that's, And to her credit, she didn't say anything after that. She was a nice person. So that's one thing I don't like about the internet. It immediately becomes like, this person's cool. This person's a douche. It's just like, it was her religion probably. So she, she's a little bit of a Penn State fan, They want to dial it down a little bit.
Go Pop.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
Come on, put the statue back up. Come on. They were just raping kids. Come on. Look at all the games he won.
Bill, the political correct stuff, it feels cyclical at this point. I remember they complained about this like 25, 30 years ago, this for kind of first wave of it. And then it feels like you said, people just comedians are going to do what they want. Filmmakers are going to make the movies they want. And then it kind of quiets down, and it just feels like people are complaining again. But, as a straight white guy from Boston in 2018, you kind of have to walk this sort of comedy tightrope, and you haven't ended up like one of the
I don't.
You don't, though,
Let
right?
me ask you this.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't, because most people are adults. Male, female, black, white, Asian, they're adults. They're going to a comedy club, and they know that there's going to be a lot of crazy shit said, because that's what it is. And you laugh because the shit being said is crazy. You don't take it seriously. All right? So I'm not going to adjust. The same way if I'm going to write a script, I'm not going to dumb it down because there's dumb people out there. Like I got to compensate because there's mouth-breathing morons out there. I don't need them to see this. And if I make less money, fine. Stand-up comedy is the same thing. Like, I'm not going to dial down what it is I'm doing because there's people out there that are so wrapped up selfishly in their own bullshit that my favorite fucking thing is the people that get offended by something that was said at a show that they weren't at. That's my favorite thing. It's like, you have no one to blame. Yeah, other than yourself for clicking on it. You clicked on it, you dumb fuck. You saw what the title was. It's like you wanted to get pissed off. And if you have anybody to blame, it's the asshole who filmed it and posted it. The comic didn't do it. The comic's doing his job. He's at the fucking club doing his fucking job, saying crazy shit, trying to make people laugh.
Bill, what do you think of SNL now? Is it fucking junk or what?
No, I don't think it's junk. I mean, there's always talented people on there, and they always go. Everybody always thinks that it's a wrap and that it's over, and then all of a sudden the new cast finds their characters, and then then everybody loves them, and then they all move on to movies. It's like, I'm so old. I've seen people say. I've been hearing people say that show was over every 5 years since 1980. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that it's going to be fine.
Fuck! I was hoping you were just going to trash it. Can you just can we redo it when you just lay into it?
I think you. What happened? Did you audition and they didn't cast you? You seem like you have a real personal vendetta here.
I feel like they've caved into the PC culture, and it's bullshit. And I hope you're going to lay into them.
I understand what you're saying.
What we were going to do is we were going to take this piece of it and put it online just to get clicks.
Well, I mean, they're also, it's trench warfare out there right now. You know, there's all these streaming services. I mean, Netflix has knocked everybody on their ass, and people, they got to do what they got to do. I don't know. I that shit is all bigger than me. But I understand what you're saying. If you've been watching SNL for a long time, it's gone through. It's like, I think with the first class that they had, it seems like these people don't even vote. And then in the 80s, there was a while where it got a little more conservative with Dennis Miller and those guys. And then it was kind of fun in the 90s. And I think now, it's definitely leaning left. But I just, I just think that's just part of, I don't know. It's just part of the ebb and flow of it. Comedy changes like music or anything like that. So, like I said, I'm also a 50-year-old guy. Who the fuck am I to tell anybody in their 20s what they should be joking about? So, God bless them. Continued success.
So, what is up next for you? I know you got some big plans, and if you're not too busy, do you ever catch any live games, any NHL games? Or are you just too busy now?
No. I went to the Kings versus the Flyers. I always try to get a Kings game in. I don't know when the Bruins are coming through, but I hate seeing Boston teams. I hate seeing Boston teams when I'm out here, because they always end up losing because they come out here, and I feel like they just go partying in Hollywood.
What do you mean you think?
So,
That's exactly what they do.
The worst is if they're playing the Ducks and then they got the Kings the next night. It's just like, bet the Kings, man. I'm telling you. And I think the coaches, they try to keep them in Anaheim. They try to keep them out of Hollywood. But,
it ain't happening.
You're in your 20s. You're playing pro hockey. You got 8-pack abs. You're not going to go down to the Sunset Strip. I mean, come on. You're going down there. Of course you are.
Did you
Celtics are the same way. The amount of times I've gone to seen the Celtics lose to the Clippers during the Paul Pierce years, Antoine Walker. Dude, we would be crushing people, and then we come in there and we'd score like fucking 80 points. The place would be going nuts, and there'd be Laker fans all excited because I couldn't afford the Celtics-Lakers tickets back in the day. So, yeah, back then. But even now I wouldn't go because I hate LA fans.
Bill, I wanted to bring up one aspect of your career, which I'm personally a big fan of. You are a part of one of the greatest TV dramas of all time, Breaking Bad. Huge fan of the show. I think everybody who's watched it is a fan of the show. How did you have to finagle an audition for that? Did your agent get it for you, or how did you fall into that? Because the show was, pretty popular. And when you were on it, did you know it was going to be one of the all-time greats?
I got it I was a fan of the show from the beginning. I just finished The Wire, and that show came out, and I saw the billboard, Breaking Bad. I wasn't even familiar with the expression. And I started watching it, and 3 episodes in, I just think I was part of the first wave of people trying to get a guest star on the show. And I was able to somehow get into Philip Grenz was my agent at William Morris at the time, and he got a tape over to them. And fortunately, in the writer's room, your brain is about to explode, and every once in a while you got to take a break. Forget about, it happens on F is for Family. Forget about when you're doing something at the level of Breaking Bad. So they used to watch comedy clips, and I guess they knew who I was. So they were like, hey, he can act. We'll stick a pin in him, meaning you're on the board, and if something comes up, we'll give you a shout. So something came up in season 4, and so I went down and I did it. It was surreal. It was my favorite show on TV, and all of a sudden I was on it. I felt like I got sucked into my TV. It's the story I always tell. And as we were shooting it was when it blew up, because they had done 3 seasons on AMC, and they were expensive, and they weren't getting they were critics' darling, but they hadn't found the audience yet. And AMC put it on Netflix where it was streaming, and then that's when it blew up. So I did the episode for season 4, and there was still this awesome show that I liked, and I was telling people to watch. And right after I taped it, season 1, 2, and 3 got on Netflix and blew up, something like that. Because I know when I went there, I was like psyched, and I knew it was an awesome show, and people that were into it really loved it. But between the time I recorded, it was that car wash scene was the first one I did, and it like over the summer or whatever. But by the time season 4 came out, like I felt like their audience like quadrupled, and everybody was caught up and couldn't wait. And all of a sudden, like people in my family were watching it, and I was like, yeah, I did an episode of that. They're like, no way. And like, I was all excited that, to see my name in the beginning with like what is that?
The credits.
I had such a bad sign back. Yeah, but that's the credits. The in chemistry. What do you call it? The fucking
the periodic table of elements.
Periodic table. There you go. Yeah.
Holy shit, Bill! Did you even go to high school? Fuck, you might have CT.
No, I did.
Hey, Bill,
dude, high school was like friggin' 30 years ago, dude. And I don't know about you. Has the periodic table come up much in your life?
Bill,
you know what I mean?
It seems like people can't leave art alone, for art's sake, and people don't like any sort of...
They can't leave art alone, kid.
There we go.
Art.
And
can't leave art alone.
People don't like sort of any ambiguity in their TV or movies, but, even so, I'm going to ask the question. Now, we all know Huell's still twiddling his thumbs in that room, but what's Kubi up to? Did he end up in a barrel because of the Nazis, or is he living the high life off all that money somewhere? Where's Kubi right now? What's he doing?
You know what? You'd have to ask Vince and all those guys. But if I had to guess, I think that, because he only seemed to be like Huell was Saul's right-hand man as far as like security. And it seemed if there was a bigger job where you needed 2 people, they'd bring me in. So I was kind of a freelance guy. So if Huell's still alive, then I think I'm still alive. But who knows? He's a bigger guy than I.
We going to see you on Better Call Saul?
I hope so.
Me too.
I hope so. But either way, I'm going to keep watching, man. I love what those guys do. And, it's one of the, I've been very lucky in my career where my IMDb page is a quick read, but I've gotten to like parrot troop into some really cool stuff from Chappelle's Show to Breaking Bad. Got to do a movie with Mike Binder and Kevin Costner called Black or White. And I got a movie out right now with Hugh Jackman called The Front Runner. And it's the Gary Hart story. It's a great film to promote in Boston. The Front Runner, starring Hugh Jackman as Gary Hart.
If you like high art.
You're the mistress, kid.
The monkey business.
Yeah. So that was a fun one. It's funny. I play a guy that works for the Miami Herald, and with my Boston accent, So I come from that school of acting. I am as far away from Daniel Day-Lewis as there is.
Well, dude, we can't thank you enough. This is a thrill for us, and huge to have you on. I love talking to an old school hockey fan. Also, for everyone, F is for Family, a show from Netflix. That's coming back for its 3rd season. Is that very soon now?
Yep. And that will be streaming. I don't know when this comes out, but November 29th, which is tomorrow in my world.
Boom.
You can get it. You can get it on Netflix. You can watch all of season 3, and then hopefully, if enough people watch it, we'll get to do season 4. We've been talking though. At some point, season 4, I'm like, we got to go. We got to have him go to a hockey game, man. It's a game in the '70s. We got to, it takes place in the mid '70s. That means the Flyers would have been the Broad Street Bullies back then. The Bruins Rangers was the big rivalry with Bobby Orr and Brad Park and all of that shit. Could be fun. We'll see.
If you need a hand, let me know. I'm available.
Okay.
Hey, thanks
you
a
guys
lot.
with your accents. I mean, that could be fun to have you in the crowd yelling some shit out. I don't know. We shall see. But thank you guys so much for having me, and thanks for helping me promote Efforts for Family.
No, this is great for us. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right, guys. Go Bruins. I'll see you.
All right, see you, Bill.
That interview was also brought to you by Eagle Energy. Like I mentioned last week, Eagle Energy partnered up with 21 Savage to release their limited edition Savage Energy caffeine inhaler pens. It's an odd collaboration, but what the hell? Nicotine-free, no sugar or calories. Eagle Energy, they're the caffeine inhaler sticks. Of course, we mentioned the guarana, the ginseng, and the taurine, all the natural products it has in it. Way better than coffee. You don't get that rotten gut after. You're not going to shit your brains out. Eagle Energy caffeine inhalers. They're unbelievable. I do them all the time. Great coffee supplementation instead of the coffee. Nicotine free. Eagle Energy. Go get them. Biz21.
Huge thanks once again to Bill Burr, man. That was quite a thrill of my, career. I guess we can call our interviewing career here. Boys, what you think of his Bill Burr's interview?
I thought it was fantastic. We couldn't thank him enough, and he's probably just going to go crush it in Europe. So he's just such a funny dude. No matter, he can be talking about anything, and he's going to make you laugh. So we appreciate it.
Not going to lie, right before he came on, I was thinking, hey, it's just a little sensitive getting the guy who talked about cranking himself out in front of ladies, but that was a different redheaded
redheaded comedian, yeah.
I was like, oh... I was like, boys, I don't think this is good PR. Louis C.K. is the one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so good thing I did a quick Google search. I would have been asked about him tugging himself in front of women without asking them.
Good move, yeah.
Guys, if I had one complaint, I wish we could have just talked about the Boston Bruins for an hour and a half. Just to piss off the people who have already commented, oh, Boston Mines. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a Boston podcast. There's 3 or 4 people from Boston. And if I could go back in time and be born in Boston just to piss more of you off commenting, I would. I'd take a fucking time machine.
I don't think we'd be where we're at if this was all 4 of us from Boston.
Speaking of Boston, Biz, I think you got, because I have been at 3 Stanley Cup celebrations, I think you got the stories conflated there. The Boston one, I actually didn't crash that one. I did have a press pass. I was allowed to be there. Of course, we know the Detroit story, the night Whitney lost and I was in the locker room. But the Tampa story was a pretty crazy one, Biz, okay? I had already been to Florida a week before. I went to game 2 for a little vacation, come home, back to Boston. I get up. What are you laughing at?
You vacation in Florida? I'm shocked.
Yeah. So went to game
Daytona Beach only.
Oh my God!
No,
you are fucking the epitome of Florida.
Sarasota, man. Sarasota is nice. You're
a walking Florida vacation. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. So game 7 was a Monday morning. I got up regular day, 7 o'clock in the morning. Went to work. My crumb bum job. I'm sitting there about noon. My buddy calls me. He says, "Hey," he goes, "I got a ticket for the game tonight." Now it's game 7. Somebody has to win. It's fucking noon. I'm in Boston. I was like, dude, why couldn't you call me early? He goes, dude, if you can get down here, I get a ticket for you. So I was like, fuck it. So I pretended sick. I walked into my supervisor's office all hunched over. She's like, oh, you don't look so good. I was like, oh, meanwhile, I'm healthy as a horse. I goes, yeah, I should go home. So I called Logan Airport. I booked the flight to Tampa, called my father. He goes, Dad, make me a bag in the back room with some clothes. Come pick me up. He's like, you're all right. He probably thought I was like on the run or something. I was like, just come pick me up. I need a ride to Logan. So I get to the airport. I'm in line to get on the plane. My buddy calls me. He's like, dude, I didn't hear back from you. I had to go to a doctor's appointment. He goes, that ticket's gone. I was like, fuck it, man. I'm getting on the plane. I'll see you when I get there, and I'll deal with it when I get there. So I had $1,000 with me. I'm like, I'll pay up to $1,000 to get in the game because it's a game 7. Someone's going to win. And I ended up getting a ticket for $500. Watched the whole game. Watched the cup come out after. I was fucking smothered. I actually left the arena, Biz, went to the bar across the street with my buddy, but he had to leave. So he's like, dude, I got the kids tomorrow. I can't stay out and party. Left.
Dude, this buddy of yours sucks. First, he gave away the ticket, and then after the Cups won, he left. Like,
well, back then, I don't think there was cell phones. It was like carrier.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was
contact them.
It wasn't as easy to get.
Yeah, there
in touch
wasn't
with
actually
people.
texting and shit then, was there?
There was still MapQuest.
So, meanwhile, I have a mutual friend, a friend who's played with Marty St. Louis at UVM. We have a mutual friend. So I'm calling him, trying to get him because I know he's inside the building. Well, when I die and go to heaven or wherever I go, if there's one memory I want to be replayed that I was blacked out for, it's this night in Tampa, because I don't know how I bullshit my way back into the building, into the party where the fucking Stanley Cup was. I snuck back in there. I ended up meeting up with my buddy Phil and Marty St. Louis and Richards, and like an hour later, I'm sitting there with the cup, but I didn't have a camera. I had no evidence. People were like, yeah, bullshit. So anyways, fast forward 2 weeks later, I get that picture in the email, the one with Marty St. Louis with the fresh cuts from the Game 7 and me off to the side screaming. That's the only like evidence I have from being at that party that night. So that's what happened that night, Biz. I woke up in Boston, 8 o'clock, went to work, and ended up fucking in Tampa Bay. So then at like 4 a.m, they finally boot everyone out, and I'm smothered, and I got to go to the airport, but my flight's not till 8. One of those news trucks is there. I'm just so drunk. I just want to like pass out for now. I open the door. Some guy's like, he's stealing the truck. He's stealing the truck. And the cops fucking rip up. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm blasted. I'm like, what? They're like, buddy, what are you doing? I'm like, I just need somewhere to rest my head. The cops are like, listen, we'll get you a cab to the airport, but if we see you here again, we're lugging you. Fucking went back to the airport.
You didn't have a hotel room.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't even have a hotel room. No.
I told you, he's a walking Florida vacation. Okay, I have a theory as to why you're able to get in the back of these things.
I have a theory too.
Look
I
them
wonder
in
if
the
you're going to say
eyes.
the same thing.
You look them in the eyes. You say, "I'm the janitor," and you say it so naturally because you're not fucking actually lying. And they're like, "Oh, who the fuck would lie about that?" One and
But he's
two.
also smothered.
I was messy. I don't know how. I don't know if I like physically hid or snuck behind or told lies. I don't know. I have no.
My theory is that you started talking to him, and then you were talking to him so much and so often, and telling him so many stories. He was just like, "Dude, go ahead, get away."
Take the cup.
He's like, "Don't even let the dog sniff him. Just fucking let him go."
Take the Conn Smythe too. Just get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, like the dog's gonna pass out if he sniffs him. Just let him go. Go ahead, Rear Admiral.
So
That's cool. Then you end up getting a picture of it.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I didn't. That was back before every cell phone had a camera. So I didn't think to buy with. I would have never thought I'd be partying with the cup. So yeah, of the 4 times that I partied with the cup, that was probably one of the most fun times, just because it was so.
I'd never heard that story, and that's by far your best one regarding sneaking in to see a cup.
Yeah.
So fucking rights, buddy.
Well, speaking of the Stanley Cup, boys. Last night, or I shouldn't say last night. It was on Wednesday or Tuesday night. There was a rematch.
One of them.
There was a rematch of the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, one of the days it ends in Y. There was a rematch of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Vegas Golden Knights played the Capitals, and this one was in Vegas. Vegas, a nice little 5-3 win. I had them. Thanks for coming. And in that game, Ryan Reaves, the alpha male of the NHL, one of our best interviews, one of our highest downloaded interviews ever. He ran over Tom Wilson, and Wilson left the game injured. You do not like to see that. His helmet popped off on the hit. His head hit the ice. Not good. Hopefully he's okay. But Ryan Reaves got kicked out of the game, got a match penalty. That's bullshit. That should have been a 2-minute penalty for interference. That was a little bit of a late hit, and it was a guy who was watching his pass, and it was Reaves, who was an absolute monster, went shoulder to shoulder, and people say karma's a bitch. People say it comes back to get you, but that was Tom Wilson taking an enormous hit. Many times he's been the giver of those hits, and I don't know if you guys agree with my assessment of it not being deserving, certainly of a suspension, which it isn't, but I didn't even think he should have been kicked out of the game. And shout out quickly to Reaves before you go, Biz. Shout out quickly to his quote of that Tom Wilson, he just ran into a lion in the jungle. Like that. If I could, I won't ever be able to say something that manly and that tough until like Ryder like knows what's going on and I can like scare him. That's the only time I'll be able to say I'm the lion in the jungle. So to be able to say that in the NHL, Reaves is a badass motherfucker.
Okay, first of all, it sucks because I like them both, and they're both guests of the show, and I truly believe if they played in the same team or met each other in person, that they would like each other because they're both great guys. Regarding Reaves, he's been having some pretty good interviews lately. He's a walking soundbite. That one with Scott Oak he had was classic. Scott Oak's kid and Reaves are buddies. I mean, you guys might have known that and the history behind that. His Scott Oak's kid,
magician.
He's a magician. He's unbelievable. He's like world class. But yeah, that's an all-time quote, especially in today's NHL, where a lot of these kids are. Could you imagine half these kids in the NHL and how like not like chirp them, but they're softer? Where you have Ryan Reaves, who would have been a scary man back in the day.
Yeah,
like Revo is probably top 3 guys I ever fought. And
he's a monster. He's just
if you've seen this guy with his shirt off, we did the bench press test in St. Louis. Do you remember that?
Well, hang out with him for 3 minutes. You'll see him with his shirt off. Dude walks everywhere with no tarp on.
Tops off for the boys.
He's got those rubber bands. He's always like dialed in where his veins are popping out.
Exactly.
He's got a prison workout.
Revo just like crushes push-ups before he goes out, and his biceps are ripping all night.
Hey, coach wants to see you. Rips off 100 push-ups. What's up, Hitch? You wanted to talk to me? Oh, no, I'm good. But, okay, so I will say that was a hockey hit. He saw him coming as soon as he let go of the puck, and he had to make that decision in a split second. I'd imagine because of who he knew he was on the ice against and who it was, that he wasn't going to make that split-second decision to not hit him based on not only last year's Cup final and the history, based on I would put Tom Wilson as public enemy number 1 right now in the NHL, like far and above a number 2 guy.
Yes, I agree.
Like, is that? I mean, Marshall
maybe one. He might be 1 through 5.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And you know, he's obviously earned that with the situations he's found himself in. I thought there's no way that the Reaves hit was dirtier than what Wilson did to the kid against in Jersey. Because I feel he had way more time to make his decision not to hit him. And he still ended up getting a piece of him. Very unfortunate that he hit his head on the ice, and I believe that he's probably got a concussion today. Is that the ruling?
Well, I saw him. He was getting off the ice and, kind of had the Bambi legs as he was getting helped off. So, I mean, immediately you think if somebody's in that sort of state, it's some sort of concussion. And he was completely lighting up. So it sucks to see him get injured. So hopefully he's back quick. But I mean, that was shoulder to shoulder. It's a big man that caught him.
I think with considering the social climate and how everyone has a voice, referees are under so much scrutiny right now, where if it's a 50-50, I think more times than not, they're going to say, hey, let's just kick him out because at least, whatever, he missed a period or, a half a game and it's not that serious, as opposed to if it was dirty and you let him stay in the game, holy fuck, people are going to be, they're going to have to put his parents or whoever, if his family members are, in witness protection program. Yeah, because people are psycho about the head hits now. So it's just better off just throwing him out of the game. Don't think he deserved it. Don't think he deserved to get suspended. And considering Wilson did get suspended for his, I thought there was no way that Revo was going to get suspended for that.
Also, that game was a quick reminder that although Alex Ovechkin is one of the greatest goal scorers to ever live, he is still a complete tank on the ice. Because I don't know if you saw a couple of his hits. He ran over Thomas Nosek at the blue line, just a complete butchering of him. Huge hit. And then he also ran across the ice, tried to kill Reaves too. Like, he doesn't give a shit. So shout out to Ovi for still playing like a savage.
Yeah, little chiclets on chiclets violence. I agree with you. It's 100%. It should have been a 2-minute interference penalty, not even anything supplemental discipline. Obviously, he didn't get it. People clamor for it. Yeah, how you doing? So good stuff going around the league. Hey, I think I'm gonna come back with a little gambling corner. What do you think, Biz? I think I like a couple things tonight.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing: is I trust you because I know that you only go when you're feeling it. And last time, you were feeling it, and you feel like if you're not feeling it, you're like, I'm not going to put my friends of the podcast here, which we have a lot of them now. We have a ton of listeners, and I'm assuming we have a lot of gamblers. Maybe even Grinnell can take some advice, considering he got bent over for $800 last night.
How are you?
What are they paying you at Barstool? Holy shit, $800. I wouldn't even bet 800 on games, and I'm a millionaire.
It's just because I'm up so much. It's all the house's money. Started with a $20 parlay.
And I've told this kid, just take a couple grand out to like maybe like have a little money, put it towards your rent. And he's like, no. So when he goes to zero, which he will, you can remember Uncle Whitty told you to maybe put a little aside. It's like when you're at the blackjack table and I'm up all these thousands and maybe I put 10,000 in my pocket so that when I do lose, if I'm really drunk, I say, oh my God, I actually still have the 10 I started with. And that's how you gamble. But Mikey Grinelli's not listening to me. So what's your gambling corner, RA? What do you got? Last time you made me some money.
Guys, real quick before we get to RA's Gambling Corner, RA's Gambling Corner is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club, and I love that Dollar Shave Club has everything I need to look, feel, and smell my best. What I love even more is that the fact that I never have to go to the store. That's because Dollar Shave Club delivers everything I need right to my door, and 2, they keep me fully stocked on what I use so I don't run out. Here's how it works. Dollar Shave Club has everything you need to get ready, no matter what you're getting ready for. They have you covered from head to toe, from your hair, your skin, your face, you name it, they have it. And they have this new program where they automatically keep you stocked up on all the products they use. You determine what you want, when you want it, and it shows up right at your door from once a month to once every 6 months. And that's why I do it, because to be honest, I live in New York City now. It sucks having to go out walking by all these pigeon homeless people. They're bothering you. They're asking you for change. People just don't leave you alone. It's so annoying. So that's why I use Dollar Shave Club. And right now, they've got a bunch of starter sets you can try for just $5, like their oral care kit. After that, the restock box ships regular size products at regular price. So what are you waiting for? Get your starter set right now for just $5 at dollarshaveclub.com/chiclets. That's dollarshaveclub.com/chiclets.
2 games tonight I'm looking at. We all saw Columbus.
What night are you talking about?
Well, to Thursday. Because
Thursday. This comes out tomorrow. Jeez, Whit, come on now.
Well, I'm like, it's been a long day.
Yeah, it's all right. Little vino going too. So Thursday night, Columbus is at Philly. Columbus was absolutely embarrassed at home the other night. Gave up a 9 spot to Calgary. And Torts has already said that Bobrovsky's starting the game. That's way ahead of schedule. They announced it because Bobrovsky does own the Flyers. They're at Philly, so you're going to get a really nice price. I'm going to take the Jackets on the money line for 2 units. And the puck line for 1 unit because, like I said, Bobrovsky owns the Flyers. He's already got the start.
Wow, I'm dead against you on that game.
Okay.
Dead against you.
All right.
I love when you guys do this because it becomes very competitive on Twitter, and I just sit back and watch. And one of you is going to get destroyed.
He left Bobrovsky in for 8 of the 9 goals. He was furious. Bobrovsky was. And
now they're going
and Philly, and it's Philly's first game with Chuck Fletcher as the GM. I just am against Rear Admiral on that one.
All right. Yeah, I would do it with any goalie who gets embarrassed like that when they come back the next game. I think they're going to have a better effort either way. So yeah, I like Columbus in that game. And this next game, I like the Avalanche are in Florida. They had a rough going in Pittsburgh Tuesday night. What's his name? Varlamov gave up 6 goals. They actually were down 3-0 8 minutes in the game. They tied it up, gave my bet a little bit of a chance, but they pissed it away. They gave up 6 goals. I think they're going to rebound with a solid effort in, again, Florida. They're playing the Panthers. So I would say in that same vein, look for a bounce back from Colorado. Take them on the money line. If Roberto Luongo gets the night off, throw a little something on the puck line on him as well. So just 2 picks, both tonight. Again, to reiterate, Columbus on the money line and puck line as well. In Colorado, the money line, and if Luongo doesn't get the start, throw a little something on the puck line. So
kind of weird. Kind of weird that when Pittsburgh played in Colorado like a week or 2 ago, Colorado went up 3-0. Crosby got a hat trick, 3-3. Colorado got 3 more, 1-6-3. They go to Pittsburgh last night. Pittsburgh goes up 3-0. Colorado comes back, ties it up 3-3, and then Pittsburgh goes on to win 6-3. And they went on to win 6-3. Patrick Hornquist had the fastest hat trick in the history of the Pittsburgh Penguins. 2 minutes and I think 47 seconds it took him to get a hat trick. So that was just an insane number. I can't even I could definitely actually I won't even go there on what I could do in 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Go ahead, Biz.
I believe it was a natural hat trick as well.
Yeah, he just got 3 goals in 2 minutes and 47 seconds, obviously.
Oh, yeah. No, but a natural hat trick is not special teams, I believe, right? It's a natural hat trick is
no, I think it's
even strength.
No, it's the 3 goals in a row your team scored. I always thought.
Oh, I thought a natural hat trick meant not on any special teams. It was just 5-on-5.
No, I'm almost positive that if you score your team, like if you score 3 goals in a row, that that's a natural hat
Learned
trick.
something new. Sorry.
You know what? There's a chance we're both wrong.
Yeah. Like, shocker.
Yeah.
Want to start pronouncing names?
Like,
hey, throw me some times tables.
How do these guys have a hockey podcast?
Some kid asked me today, how do you guys prepare? I'm like, one, we don't. Whit does the times tables. RA smokes and drinks.
No, I've been a good boy.
No, and this has been one of your best podcasts. You are absolutely buzzing right now.
Thanks, guy.
What did I say I did? Oh, I study which states don't have state income tax.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
then Grinelli goes
you're
on
on tax code patrol.
and then Grinelli goes on dates he can't seal the deal on.
yeah, and he can't win bets. Speaking of the you and the state taxes thing, did you see the Instagram account that someone started, the Spittin Chiclets
Memes. Oh,
memes?
It's funny.
The one they did of you of I don't even know who.
Kanye West and Trump.
No, there was one of a guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he's got like numbers and sheets everywhere, and it's like Biz reminding us what states don't have state tax.
I haven't seen that one yet.
There's actually been a couple really fun. He put my legs like along a golf course as like an out of bounds thing.
He's funny. He's good.
He's great.
There's a couple really good ones. There's a couple really funny ones.
So it's called Spittin Chiclets memes.
Spittin Chiclets memes on Instagram.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah,
It's probably RA's fucking burner account.
The one where you can
Just
see
chirping
visual-
all of us except for RA because he hasn't been chirped yet.
Oh my god!
I'll have to fix that. I mean, no, that's weird.
Um,
Wits, we were just talking about the Panthers. Your boy Yan's got some fucking nice ink in SI. I know you guys don't read much, but a nice article on Keith Yandle in Sports Illustrated. You guys must have checked it out, no?
well, can you read it for us?
That was
Kind of lengthy.
RA will read it. Will be at the next time we record. By the time
I was going to say read that and then go over the names for the Seattle team.
These are the names they were gonna name the Panthers, starting off the Aardvarks, the Antelopes.
These were the names that Buddy and Patricia Yandle thought about naming before they named him Keith.
Kevin.
Okay, now that's all the girls' names. Now, if it was going to be a boy,
that article was great. That article was great. I thought the one of the coolest things was how Keith said he thinks he's the only player in NHL history to never get room service, because he's so right too. When you're in the NHL and you're in these awesome cities on road trips, why the hell would you wait around for some cold fries when you can go out and get a great dinner, see some sights, see some action in the bar, action in the restaurant. So he doesn't ever stick around the hotel. He likes going around. He likes hanging out with the boys. So the article is about Keith's Ironman streak right now. I've said before I don't like talking about it, and as I'm doing right now, I'm knocking on wood 3 times with my right hand. So that's great. That's continuing to go. But it's awesome to see an article really kind of talk about Keith, because although he is our boy, he is severely underrated. I think it's a joke how much he never gets enough respect. And the season he's had this year might be his best to date.
I think this is going to be his 9th or 10th consecutive year, which I think he's in a group of like 3 or 4 defensemen who have at least got 20 assists or more in consecutive years, which, I mean, people would say, well, 20 is not that many, but like when you can do it, 9 or 10 years in a row, it is, you're
in the
obviously
best league in the world. You're not in men's league.
Well, and of course, we're talking about the Ironman streak, and that's another big reason why he can do it. It doesn't look like super in shape. He doesn't have like a jacked body, but he trains very hard in the summer. He would always come into Arizona as one of the most fit guys in camp. I believe he was the most fit for 3 or 4 of those years in a row. So he takes his off ice very seriously. Regarding the meal thing, like, far and away the best part of my time with Arizona was we'd always have about 6 or 7 guys go out to dinner every single night before the game on the road. It was unreal. The conversations, the stories, and just as much as the locker room, I remember those meals. And actually, when Keith was in town last year, me, him, Pyatt, and Gordo ended up going out to Mastro City Hall. And we had one for the old times, and it was
really good wine, good steaks, everything passed around. Keith getting the bill.
Keith did get the bill.
Yeah, he did.
We had no choice. I would have fucking lost it. I would have broke his Ironman streak because I would have fucking broke his jaw. No, but I believe we were at Mastro's for about 3.5, 4 hours. It was just
that's just
we
a
didn't want to
time.
leave the dinner. He's such a fucking awesome guy. I know we talk about him so much on this podcast, but one of my favorite teammates ever, if not the favorite.
Yeah, we want to, let people know if they didn't see the article to go check it out. I mean, he's a fucking power play savant out there. He's got 17 of his 25 points have come on the power play. Also, they did the Hockey Fights Cancer Initiative last week. I don't know if you guys saw. He held the sign for a cop who died in Boston, Sergeant Dan Bosler. That was my buddy who passed away when I had to take a couple bereavement days a few weeks back. So a lot of people were touched by the fact he did that. It was a small gesture maybe to him, but it meant a lot to a lot of people that he did that. It certainly did to me because he was a good pal of mine. So thanks to Keith for doing that. Also, a couple Biz, I was saving this for you. Doug Jarvis, he's got the Ironman record. 964 consecutive games played. His first game was October 8th, 1975. He played until October of 1987. The guy was 5'9", 170 pounds, played every single game for 12 straight seasons, and the streak ended on a health bomb. But I got to give his coach this, though. It was agreed to before the season that he wasn't going to get in every game because he was starting to get old and, tail off, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So it was agreed before the season, but you think they might have waited until he tweaked something. But
yeah, but he has the record at some point. So, when do you stop? You know what I mean? When they scratched him, it was you have the record by so much. So it's kind of, if you're going to told them you're going to scratch him, at some point this has to end.
And it's nice that they were up front with him and said, hey, listen, this is the drill here. And then obviously he agreed to it. If he didn't, he would have tried to either move on to another team, or he didn't even have that option. Maybe they were like, hey, we're gonna sign you, but not to fucking drop this on you 2 games into the year, but we're gonna help bomb you because you suck now.
Did you guys see at the Miami Heat game, Dwayne Wade went to save a ball, jumping out of bounds and ran into Barkov from the Panthers?
No way.
Yeah, dude.
And
dude, he barely kind of bumped into him, and all of a sudden he's like, holy fuck, call 911. He's like, holy boss stretch, get a stretcher over here. And Barkov's just like, dude, I'm fine. But it's NBAers are like, oh my God, how is this guy okay? He just got hit in the head and he's not fucking laying down on the ground. So Barkov said, yeah, I just he couldn't get out of the way. I guess Dwayne Wade said they'd met before. He's like, I tried to jump over him, but he was too big, but I still got a kick out of that.
Yeah, D-Wade tweeted at him, said, hey, sorry about that. And Barkov said, oh, don't worry. I took a picture with himself wearing a helmet, out of uniform. He had a T-shirt and put a helmet on. So they had a nice little joke.
Barky's got jokes.
Pretty good. Actually, guys, we were just talking about Massachusetts players. I just want to give a shout-out to a fellow Masshole, Kyle Zitch. He's a forward for the U.S. national sled hockey team. He's from out in Springfield Indians territory. He's a South Hadley guy. He had his first ever game for the national team Monday versus Canada. He scored a goal, was named the player of the game in a 3-0 win over their rivals up in Canada. It was the first Paralympics game Canada and the U.S. faced each other since the gold medal game. I was told he's a big Chiclets guy, so I want to give him props in his first game. He got his first tuck, so cheers to him, and let's hope he gets some more for the national sled team.
That's awesome. Very well said. All right, and boys, we were talking about one team from Florida. I feel like we have to mention Tampa Bay. I know every year, well, in recent memory, they're coming into the year as one of the favorites. They're now at 43 points. They've been on a bit of a roll, too, and they lost their starting goaltender 4 wins in a row. They have a record of 21-7-1 for 43 points. They're tops the league right now. So, fuck, man, plus 29 goal differential. That is a great team. I always feel like they tail off at the end of the year, though. They just come out guns.
Last year, Vasilevsky was tired. I think they're set to possibly win it this year. They're
okay. So this is his little break.
Yes, and unfortunately, it's injury. But last year, it was his first time being a starter, right? With Bishop gone for the first year. And I think that it was just tough on him. And now, although it's injury, that sucks, he still is getting rest. And they're Hedman and McDonough have been so good. Their forwards are unreal. Kucherov and Point have this amazing connection. So that team, I mean, they almost look unbeatable a lot of games. They have no weaknesses. So you're right, Biz. I'm glad we shouted out the Lightning. They deserve it.
And they're tops of the league. I feel like we haven't really touched on them at all this year. There's a couple other teams overshadowing them early on. But what's amazing is they've been able to scale up.
I didn't notice you were saying that much.
Yeah, I said it 20 times last episode.
Quickly, before we finish, are we done? Are we done pretty much? All right, before we finish, if this is the biggest pet peeve of mine. Today, I was waiting outside. Okay, I'm walking into this hotel, all right? And I'm holding the door. I saw someone behind me. They were probably like, how do you decide when to let him in, you know? The guy was like 10 yards. Like, it's kind of right where you're got to hold it. Like, if he's 15 yards, I'm going. But 10 yards, I'm like, all right. So, you know, I turn around, I'm holding it, and then, like, he sees me. This asshole keeps walking at the same pace that he was walking before I was holding the door. Like, if somebody in front of you is holding the door for you, you got to put a little hop in
Jog it out.
Unless it's an old, if it's some old person, like, I understand, dude. Take your time. You know, don't bust your hip. Just wait. I'll hold the door. This guy was like my age, and he just continues to walk slow, holding the door. So he got up. I'm like, dude, no hop in your step as I'm holding the door. He's like, what? I'm like, forget about it. He was such a mutant, I could tell. But I was just like, this is unbelievable. Like, if someone's holding the door, I'm going to give it, like, even if it's a fake jog, you know, it's like a quick high knee. This asshole.
Hey, at least fake it or
thanks.
At least fake it and start breathing a little heavier or something. Give me something.
Give me some sort of, like, effort.
Okay, so I agree. Even if I'm on a sidewalk and there's a guy trying to turn right, like, I'm jogging it out so they can turn, or I'm waving them past. I'm just saying, go now, and I'll walk after. Like, I'm very courteous when it comes to, like, letting people go. But if somebody held the door, two things. If I'm, for whatever reason, unable to jog it out, which would be never if you're that lazy, you at least got to go, like, no, don't worry about, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, don't hold the door.
If you say that and let the person go, you don't need the jog out. But at least say, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Acknowledge that, hey, I appreciate what you've done for me, but just, you know, don't worry about it.
Hey, Biz,
right,
what about the Seattle scale-ups?
All right, that was it. Guys, listeners, thank you as always for this, and I love you guys. And RA, you're just so dumb.
Oh, okay, Einstein.
I'm high enough to like that one tonight, all right?
Hey, have a great weekend, everybody. This was fun.
See ya. Yeah, see ya, boys.